For all the bluster we hear from time to time about the Americanization of Canadian politics coming from those on the political left, pardon me for quoting Shakespeare, but methinks thou dost protest too much, ye hypocrites. Okay, I added that last part. It must be election time again. The fangs are out, the rhetoric has ramped up, and facts have gone out the window. For all the bluster we hear from time to time about the Americanization of Canadian politics coming from those on the political left, pardon me for quoting Shakespeare, but methinks thou dost protest too much, ye hypocrites. Okay, I added that last part. In the last week, if you've been following along, Rachel Notley and the NDP have been on an all-out attack against their rivals, the UCP. Is this surprising? Not at all. But to quote a tweet I read today, I have never witnessed a more negative, hateful, and divisive campaign in Canada as what I see in Alberta coming from Notley and the NDP. It's stunning and telling. This quote is coming from someone who is not voting UCP. I wholeheartedly concur. The major issue I see and have problems with is that inside the hateful, divisive, and negative campaign that is going on, there is a large amount of lying. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Exodus 20, verse 16. This last week, Notley and the NDP dug up an old clip of our Premier, before she was Premier, on a podcast in which it was alleged by the NDP and their cronies that Smith compared vaccinated people with Nazis. This was a lie. The NDP and their supporters knew that this was a lie. The university professors that support the NDP knew this was a lie. So why did the accusation stick to the point where Smith felt it appropriate to apologize? Because of the bombardment of the assertion and the rate at which the headline caught on. Mainstream media also jumped on board. Never mind the fact that Smith's comparison had to do with the objective vilification of those that didn't want the vaccine. Never mind the objective examples she gave in the interview to back her claim. Never mind the objective validity of the comparison to Nazi Germany. The fact of the matter is that Smith was comparing the vilification and oppression of the unvaxxed with that of the vilification and oppression of Jews in Germany prior to the slaughter. What were those? Let me give you just a few examples. Stop me when one doesn't align with Germany. Those that were unvaccinated were barred from entering public places like movie theaters, sporting events, and the like. Those that were allowed to enter these events or facilities had to show proof of their vaccinated status. Show me your card, please. The unvaccinated were fired or barred from public sector jobs. There were private companies that adopted the same standards. Those that were fired were unqualified to receive employment insurance. The unvaccinated were banned from traveling on planes, trains, and chartered boats. They couldn't leave the country. The unvaccinated were not allowed to attend weddings, or funerals, or hospitals. The unvaccinated were forced, in many places, to continue to wear masks, even after the mandates were dropped. It was socially acceptable to publicly wish death or imprisonment, re-education camps if you like, for those not willing to get vaccinated. Public officials openly mocked and insulted those that were vaccine hesitant. Mainstream media regularly ran polls asking if the unvaccinated should be arrested or fined. Politicians openly talked about going door to door to forcibly vaccinate people. They openly talked about forcing vaccinations on children without parental consent. People not vaccinated have been, and continue to be, withheld life-saving surgeries or transplants due to their unclean status. Criticizing politicians, health experts, or anyone else pushing the vaccine narrative was offside, and were made to be social outcasts in their workplaces, social clubs, and family connections. Resistance to the narrative was to become subject to much of the same ridicule as those that were unvaccinated, regardless of your vaccination status. Thanks to Don Wilson, LLP, for that list. Most tragically, Smith apologized, thereby opening the door to the veracity of the claim. This was a major blunder. As soon as she issued the apology, the left attacked with the expected, "She only apologized because she was caught." Damned if you do, damned if you don't. A wise man once said, "Never apologize if you didn't do anything wrong." I would add, especially if it's against the mob. In the end, you've only damaged yourself. You won't be at all surprised to learn that the day after the apology, the NDP found a whole new issue to lie about. Surprise, surprise. I don't care what political stripe you have. My message is for everyone. If you want your politicians to be better, you have to expect better. Don't put up with lies. If you do, your politicians will become very comfortable with lying. If you play the fool, your politicians will double down and play you for the fool. Maybe try being a little less partisan and a little more discerning. Raise your standards a little. You might be surprised at just how much power over political behavior you really have.